Yep, still running into issues. Same exact ones. Matter of fact, if you guys remember when I put in the new blind spot mirrors, or the side mirrors, these guys here, I'm not getting a code because obviously there's something that's not plugged in, and they're not OEM, so that makes sense. But this code that keeps happening is the intermittent air mass plausibility sensor, which turns out the mass airflow sensor isn't even bad. I changed out the charge pipe, that didn't work. There's no cracks in the charge pipe, there's no leaks to it either. So, the only thing, literally the only thing that I can think about now is the boost solenoid. And I have zero idea where that is in a 2015 N55. So the reason why I'm thinking it's the boost solenoid is because when I cleared the code, and yes, I can clear the code quite frequently and it does work, but it doesn't work for long term. If I apply a little bit of boost to roughly 2,500 RPM, that's when it turns back on. And I'm like, oh, well, it only turns on when that happens. So it's not even like when the car turns on, it happens. It's only when I apply a little bit of boost. So if charge pipe's fixed, there's no air leaks whatsoever, then guess what? It's gotta be the boost solenoid. So I'll show you where I think it is, but we're gonna have to go to BMW because I literally don't know exactly where it is. Now, thankfully, this part is like $100, so it's not even bad. It could be 10 times worse. Like, obviously, there's much more expensive things that could be happening to repair. The only problem is the accessibility to get to this thing. It's supposedly in this region, just down there. Which, if that's the case, guess what? That means oil lines have to come off, air intake has to come off, coolant lines have to come off, and I actually don't know how to get in there. So, yeah, this became something that's, I mean, the car still runs. Let's just say that, but this has become something that is just dumb. And so I went to BMW and I actually got better news than what I thought I would receive. And there's good and bad news. The good news is that the boost solenoid doesn't really exist in this car. So I thought that it was in the location where I showed you guys beforehand, but turns out, according to my car and according to BMW, the only boost sensors that are even in this car are in the easiest spot possible. One is the charge pipe, and this is considered a mass airflow sensor. And then this one here, which is on the manifold towards the steering column, that's another one. Now this is an image of the locations of these boost pressure sensors, but this is a 2015 335 Xi, and I have a 2015 435 Xi. Just a different chassis, but same engine. My theory is, since there sometimes is oil that gets on the boost pressure sensor, that's the one that's being thrown off versus the manifold sensor. The camshaft sensor seems to be fine, but I also could be very wrong. If there's an oil problem, well, now we got a bigger issue because I've already fixed it with the valve cover, and now there's one that's going into the intake. So the only problem is, as well, I also stripped the screw that VRSF gave me, so we're gonna figure out how to try and take it out. So this here is one sensor, and it looks like it's fine because I don't think I ever messed with that one, but this one down here, ugh. So what we're gonna do, I'm actually gonna take off all this to make sure that A, there really isn't anything wrong with it, because if there is, then that's a bigger issue that we gotta solve. I'm really sorry this is such a bad angle, but got everything taken out that I needed to take out this sensor here. And this is the one that's on top of the manifold, so we'll see if it's good or bad. I'm hoping it's good, but I'm guessing it's the one that's on the charge pipe, which that one I'm gonna have to take off. 3, 2, 1. What's it look like? What does this thing look like? If I can get it out. There we go. Yeah, there's a little bit of oil on here. Nothing bad. So clearly there shouldn't be any oil whatsoever. However, I do have a theory that when this oil leak was happening from the valve cover, it was applying some sort of negative or positive boost pressure towards the manifold, which isn't good, but now it's just the remnants of the oil that's left over in the manifold that's hitting these sensors. You guys see that? One screw's almost out, the other one, well, that sucker's stripped. I knew it was gonna be a pain. Like a massive pain in the butt to get that out. And of course, it's fully stripped now. It's come down to that. It has. I can't get the bolt out. Matter of fact, I stripped the bolt, the screw, whatever, so much to where now it is a literal round head. So the idea is to use this guy and hopefully make it into a flat head super carefully. And the other one's already out, so it's just this one. Now, a lot of you might be saying like, hey, if you don't get this out, what's the big issue? Well, the problem is if I don't get that out and that sensor's not able to get out, one, I have a permanent code now. Two, if I ever have to take out the charge pipe, I have to disconnect that guy, and it's better to disconnect the entire thing and take it out than just to disconnect the wire. And if I ever want to upgrade the throttle body or the manifold, guess what? I have to take all that out. So, we're gonna see how this goes. All I can say is that the N55 platform has the smallest spaces to work in. This was incredibly nerve-wracking to do because I had to go around some PVC hose that were for the inlets of the air intake, and if I even screw up one of those guys, then we would have had an even bigger problem on our hands. I would take the world's smallest screwdriver and see if we can actually get this out. Oh, this might be a really exciting moment here. And once I was able to cut a little groove in the head of that aluminum screw, I was able to get it. And I don't know how, but I used the world's smallest screwdriver and a normal sized hammer and somehow untwisted it. Oh my god, I think I turned it. Holy crap, I think I turned it. Maybe. Just ever so slightly. I did it! Yes! Let me just say that if you ever use new screws from BRSF, they suck. They absolutely are terrible. They're not stainless steel, so they're really shitty aluminum. So literally, if you strip it, you're finished. So I'm gonna show you this as best as possible with my little bloody finger now, but it worked. Look at that. I barely hurt this screw. I'm so proud of myself. Didn't even hurt anything in the engine bay. So we may be out of the woods for that part, but really it's to see how bad the sensor is covered in oil, because apparently that's what's causing it. So this part is now the easy part. Really just a matter of taking this out, and it's actually not bad. I mean, it's got some on it, but not a bunch. Now the real question is to see if there's any oil in here. So what I'm doing is I'm stuffing a shop towel into where the mass airflow sensor would go, just to see if I can pick up anything. Thankfully it doesn't even seem like there's anything in there. This is all residue from that location, which was where the sensor was. So this has been fully cleaned off. So there's really nothing on here, which is great. There wasn't really anything to begin with. Since this thing is super sensitive, obviously, it could be even just a tiny amount of oil that was left over and everything that may have triggered it. But what we're gonna do, or what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna clear the code. Well, put this back in first, obviously, clear the code, and then if it still comes on after that, then yeah, I don't know. The only codes that I know I should have are the ones with the mirrors, obviously, and then the ones with the exhaust, because the exhaust obviously doesn't have valves. Okay, so mass airflow sensor is back in with new screws, and then I also got one of the vacuum lines attached to the charge pipe back on, as you can see here. I'm gonna delete the code, but if it's good, it actually should reset itself. But just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna go ahead and reset it myself, and any luck, I did it. Currently doing that scan, and it looks like the only fault, well, there's a few, which does make sense. If this thing can also focus a little bit. No other faults, except for those. So, the other ones make sense because of what I've done to the car. But this DME one, yep, so the air mass plausibility. So we're gonna go ahead and erase all these things. Air mass too high, actually. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and erase all the codes here, and hopefully, we should be all good. Codes have been erased, nice. I'm gonna go ahead and exit, and it should. There we go. Now granted, the only thing that would kind of actually make it go on again is if I apply boost, so we'd have to go for a little bit of a drive, but I love that sound. No engine light, obviously because we just erased it. Hopefully it'll stay that way. So far just going about 20 miles an hour, we don't have any issues, but that's not to say that we won't have issues when I'm going like 40 to 50. You know, legal speed limits. Here we go. Okay, I mean, that's good. I'm gonna floor it. test. Think we're good. Gas station now. I'm hoping and praying I fixed it. Back on.